Welcome to the video series of VLSI design. We are looking into the CMOS subsystem design. The objective of this video lecture is to learn non-volatile read-write memory, floating gate transistor, EEPROM and EEPROM. So first let's look into few special examples of memories. So first we'll see non-volatile read-write memory. The architecture of non-volatile read-write memory is virtually identical to the ROM structure, which is shown in the diagram here on the right hand side. So the memory core consists of an array of transistors placed on the word line or bit line grid that you can see here, selectively disabling or enabling some of the devices programs the memory. So in a ROM, this is accomplished by mask level alterations. In a non-volatile read-write memory, a modified transistor that permits its threshold to be altered electrically is used. This modified threshold is retained indefinitely even when the supply is turned off. So to reprogram the memory, the programmed values must be erased, after which a new programming round must be started. The method of erasing is the main differentiating factor between various classes of reprogrammable non-volatile memories. The programming of the memory is typically an order of magnitude slower than the reading operation. So over the years, various attempts have been made to create a device with electrically alterable characteristics and enough reliability to support a multitude of write cycles. For example, metal nitride oxide semiconductor transistor held promise, but it is unsuccessful until now. In this device, threshold modifying electrons are trapped in a Si3N4 layer deposited on the top of the gate silicon dioxide. A more accepted solution is offered by the floating gate transistor, which is shown in the figure below, which forms the core of virtually every non-volatile read-write memory built today. These are the floating gates. So the structure is similar to traditional MOS device, except that an extra polysilicon strip is inserted between the gate and channel. This strip is not connected to anything, so that's why it is called as floating gate. The most obvious impact of inserting this extra gate is to double the gate oxide thickness, which results in a reduced device transconductance as well as increased threshold voltage. Both these properties are not particularly desirable. So this device has property that its threshold voltage is programmable. Applying a high voltage about 10 volt between the source and drain terminals create a high electric field and causes avalanche injection to occur. So electrons acquire sufficient energy to become hot and traverse through the first oxide insulator so that they get trapped on the floating gate. This phenomenon can occur with oxide as thick as 100 nanometer, which make it relatively easy to fabricate the device. In reference to the programming mechanism, the floating gate transistor is often called floating gate avalanche injection MOS, that is FAMO. So the trapping of electrons on the floating gate effectively drops the voltage on that gate. This process is self-limiting, and the negative charge accumulated on the floating gate reduces the electric field over the oxide, so that ultimately it becomes incapable of accelerating more hot electrons. Removing the voltage leaves the induced negative charge in place and results in a negative voltage on the intermediate gate. From the device point of view, this translates into an effective increase in threshold voltage. To turn on the device, A higher voltage is needed to overcome the effect of the induced negative charge. Typically, the resulting threshold voltage is around 7 volts. Thus, a 5 volt gate to source voltage is not sufficient to turn on the transistor and the device is effectively disabled. So, since the floating gate is surrounded by silicon dioxide, which is an excellent insulator, the trapped charge can be stored for many years even when the supply voltage is removed, creating the non-volatile storage mechanism. One of the major concerns of the floating gate approach is the need for high programming voltages. By tailoring the impurity profiles, technologists have been able to reduce the required voltage from the original 25 volts to approximately 12.5 volts in today's memory. So, see how much the need of high voltages have been reduced by the change in the technology. So, we'll look at EEPROM, that is electrically programmable read only memory. It is erased by shining ultraviolet light on the cells through a transparent window in the package. The UV rays renders the oxide slightly conductive by direct generation of electron hole pair in the material. The erasure process is slow and can take from seconds to several minutes depending on the intensity of the UV source. So the programming may take 5 to 10 microseconds per word. So another problem with the process is limited endurance. That is, the number of erase per program cycle is generally limited to maximum of 1000, mainly as a result of UV erase procedure. Reliability is also an issue. The device threshold might vary with repeated programming cycles. So most EEPROM memories therefore contain on-chip circuitry to control the value of thresholds to within a specified range during programming. Finally, the injection always entails a large channel current as high as 0.5 milliampere at a control voltage of 12.5 volt. This causes high power dissipation during programming. The EEPROM cell is extremely simple and dense, making it possible to fabricate memories at a low cost. EEPROMs were therefore attractive in applications that do not require regular programming. Due to cost and reliability issues, EEPROMs have fallen out of favor and have been replaced by flash memories. Now let's look into EEPROM, that is electrically erasable programmable read-only memory. The major disadvantage of the EEPROM approach is that erasure procedure has to occur off system. This means the memory must be removed from the board and placed in the EEPROM programmer for programming. The EEPROM approach avoids this labor intensive and annoying procedure by using another mechanism to inject or remove charges from the floating gate, that is called as tunneling. A modified floating gate device called the FLOTOX, that is floating gate tunnel oxide transistor, is used as a programmable device that supports an electrical erasure procedure. So this is the cross section of the FLOTOX structure. See the tunneling region, floating gate. It resembles the previous one, that is FAMOS device, except that a portion of the dielectric separating the floating gate from the channel and drain is reduced in thickness to about 10 nanometer or less. When a voltage of approximately 10 volt is applied over the thin insulator, electrons can move to and fro from the floating gate through the tunneling. The main advantage is it is reversible. Erasing is simply achieved by reversing the voltage applied during the writing process. Injecting electrons onto the floating gate raises the threshold while the reverse operation lowers it. This bidirectionality, however, introduces a threshold control problem. Removing too much charge from the floating gate results in a depletion device that cannot be turned off by the standard word line signals. So notice that the resulting threshold voltage depends on initial charge on the gate as well as the applied programming voltages. It is a strong function of the oxide thickness, which is subject to non-negligible variations over the die. To remedy this problem, an extra transistor connected in series with the floating gate transistor is added to the EEPROM cell. This transistor acts as the access device during the read operation, while the Floatox transistor performs the storage function. This is in contrast to the EEPROM cell, where the FEMOS transistor acts as both the programming and access device. The E2PROM cell with its two transistors is larger than its EEPROM counterpart. This area penalty is further aggravated by the fact that the Floatox device is intrinsically larger than the FEMOS transistor due to the extra area of the tunneling oxide. Additionally, fabrication of very thin oxide is a challenging and costly manufacturing step. Thus, EEPROM components pack less bits for more cost than EEPROMs. On the positive side, EEPROM offer high versatility. They also tend to last longer as they can support up to 1 lakh erase per write cycles. Repeated programming causes a drift in the threshold voltage due to permanently trapped charges in the silicon dioxide. This finally leads to malfunction on the inability to reprogram the device. Thank you for watching.